It was raining in the city of Abok. Not the small kind of rain that you could run through and laugh. No. This was the heavy kind, the type that beat roofs like drums and filled the gutters until they overflowed. People hurried, dragging their bags and umbrellas, calling out for bikes and buses. But in the middle of the rush, standing quietly by the roadside, was a young girl. Her wrapper was soaked through. Her feet were bare. She held her stomach with one hand, and a torn plastic bag in the other. Her name was Zubaida. She was just 16 years old. Her eyes were red, not from the rain, but from everything life had thrown at her in the past 3 months. Zubaida was pregnant. Her belly showed. It was round and tight under her wet dress, and every time she bent slightly to beg for food, it pulled painfully. She didn't plan to be in the city. She had lived in her village all her life. Her mother, Aminat, used to call her sunshine. But her mother died one morning without warning. No sickness. No noise. Just didn't wake up. After the funeral, the uncles started whispering. Then shouting. One called her a curse. Another said she had disgraced the family with her pregnancy. No one asked who hurt her. No one cared. So she packed a few things and used the little money she found in her mother's wrapper, 400 naira. She took a bus to the city, thinking she could find help. But the city didn't care about girls like Zubaida. She slept behind kiosks. She begged at market gates. Some people gave her food. Some shouted at her to go away. One woman offered her a job washing clothes, but when Zubaida got there, the woman's husband tried to touch her. So she ran. Now she stood under the rain, near the old Oak Market Road. Her wrapper clung to her body. Her hands trembled. But she stayed there, whispering, "Please, small food, anything." Cars passed. People ignored her. She thought maybe she would just lie down and let the rain finish what the world had started. Then it came, a big black SUV. The car didn't just drive past. It stopped. Slowly, the back window rolled down. A man with dark glasses and a thick gray beard looked at her. "Come," he said. She blinked. She didn't move. "Come inside. You'll catch cold." His voice was deep. Strong. Not angry. But firm. She stepped back. "I'm okay, sir." "You are not okay," the man replied. "Get in the car. I won't ask again." She hesitated. But her body was too tired. She stepped forward and opened the door. The seat was soft. Warm. She sat gently like she didn't belong there. The man didn't speak at first. He looked ahead. The driver started the engine. "What's your name?" he asked finally. "Zubaida." "Where are your parents?" She looked down. "My mummy is dead." "And your father?" "I don't know him. My mummy never told me." Silence again. The man gave a small sigh. "We'll get you food. Then some dry clothes." Zubaida nodded. She was still scared, but the heat from the car was making her bones relax. Her eyes closed for a moment, but she didn't sleep. Not yet. They drove through clean roads with houses that looked like palaces. She had never seen this side of the city. They reached a gate. The security man opened it without questions. The house inside had white walls, flowers on both sides, and lights glowing like stars. Zubaida's mouth opened slightly. A woman came out from the house. Her head was tied with a scarf, and her wrapper was tied tight around her chest. "Who is this, sir?" she asked. "Her name is Zubaida," the man said. "She'll stay for the night. Give her food. Let her bathe." "Yes, sir." The woman smiled at Zubaida. "Come, my dear. Zubaida followed. She couldn't believe it. The floor of the house felt like glass under her feet. The air smelled like lemon. The woman took her to a small room with a clean bed, towel, and even slippers. "My name is Auntie Florence," she said kindly. "Sit down. I'll bring you food." The food came hot and smelling good: jollof rice, fried plantain, and water in a glass cup. Zubaida ate slowly, tasting every bite like it might disappear. After eating, she had a bath. The water was warm. She wrapped herself in the towel and sat on the bed. Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't know who the man was. She didn't know why he helped her. But for the first time in weeks, she wasn't outside in the cold. She was safe. She lay down. The pillow was soft. The sheets smelled new. She pulled the blanket close. Then, in the quiet of the room, she whispered, "Thank you, God." But even as she closed her eyes, one question sat quietly in her mind. Why did that man stop for me? Zubaida woke up the next morning thinking she was still dreaming. The bed was too soft. The air smelled like flowers and fresh soap. For a moment, she forgot she wasn't back in the village. But then she saw the big window, the clean floor, and the neat white curtains. Her heart skipped. It was real. She sat up slowly and touched her belly. The baby kicked, just a little. She smiled. Auntie Florence knocked gently and entered with a tray. "Good morning, my dear. You slept well?" Zubaida nodded. "Yes, Ma. Eat this. Bread and eggs. And hot tea. When you're ready, come sit in the backyard. There's sun today." Zubaida thanked her and ate quietly. It was the first time in a long while she had breakfast without begging for it. She drank the tea slowly, warming her hands around the cup. Later, she walked outside. The backyard had trees, a small fountain, and 2 white chairs. She sat down, closed her eyes, and breathed. A few minutes passed and the man from the night before came out. He wore a native cloth, dark blue, and leather slippers. He walked like someone who always knew where he was going. But his face was not hard. It looked tired. "Good morning," he said. Zubaida stood up quickly. "Good morning, sir. Sit. You're not my housemaid." She sat. "I'm Tundowalabi. People call me Chief. But you can call me anything you want." Zubaida didn't know what to say. She just nodded. He looked at her for a moment. "You said your mother's name was Aminat?" "Yes, sir." He turned his eyes away and didn't speak for a long while. "What happened to her?" "She got sick. And one day, she didn't wake up." He nodded slowly. "Do you have any relatives?" "Not in the city." He paused. "Why did you come here?" "I didn't know where else to go. I thought, maybe I could find help." He didn't speak. She looked at his fingers. They were big, like her grandfather's hands. She had no idea he was thinking the exact same thing. That evening, she was given another room. Bigger. A shelf with storybooks. A table fan. Everything clean. Zubaida felt strange in it all. Not bad strange, just new. Like trying on someone else's clothes and not being sure if they fit. A few days passed. Chief Tund left early each morning and returned late. But every morning before he left, he asked, "Do you need anything?" Zubaida would shake her head. He never stayed to talk long. But she saw how he watched her. Like he was trying to solve a riddle in her face. One night, Zubaida couldn't sleep. Her back ached. She walked to the corridor quietly, hoping to stretch. As she passed the wall in the hallway, she saw something that stopped her legs. A photo frame. A young woman in a graduation gown, smiling, standing beside a proud-looking Chief Tund. Zubaida stepped closer. The woman in the picture looked just like her. Same nose. Same cheekbones. Her heart began to beat fast. She ran back to her room and searched her small bag. Inside it was a photo. Old and wrinkled. Her mother, Aminat, carrying her as a baby. Smiling. She stared at both pictures. It was clear now. She didn't wait till morning. She walked to the study and knocked. Chief Tund opened the door, wearing reading glasses. He was surprised. Zubaida? What's wrong? She held out the photo. This is my mummy. Her name was Aminat. He took the photo with shaking hands. His eyes scanned it. Slowly, he lowered himself into a chair. He didn't say anything for a long time. She left when she was young, he said at last. She got pregnant and I got angry. I said things I shouldn't have said. She ran away. I looked for her, but I was too late. Zubaida sat down. I think I'm your granddaughter. The room was silent. Even the fan stopped humming. Chief Tund looked at her again. Really looked. His eyes filled with tears. I've done many wrong things in my life, he said quietly. But if you are truly my Aminat's daughter, then maybe I have one more chance to make something right. Zubaida's voice broke. I don't want money. I just didn't want to die on the street. He reached out and held her hand. You won't. For the first time, she saw him smile. And for the first time, she smiled back. Zubaida woke up with her heart beating differently. It was like a quiet drum, not loud but steady. Something had changed, and even though her room looked the same, the walls didn't feel like a stranger's place anymore. She was no longer just a girl begging on the street. She was family now. The granddaughter of Chief Tund Owolabi. She walked to the kitchen, where Auntie Florence was cutting vegetables. Morning, my dear, Florence said with a warm smile. Good morning, Ma. You slept well? Zubaida nodded. Yes. Thank you. Florence looked at her face and smiled again. You look different today. Light in your eyes. Peace in your face. Zubaida touched her belly. The baby kicked gently. He said I'm his granddaughter. Florence dropped the knife and stared at her. He said my mummy was his daughter. Florence slowly sat down. Ah, no wonder. No wonder what? The day he brought you here, he didn't sleep. Just sat in the parlor, looking at your face in his mind. He kept saying, she looks like Aminat. She looks like my girl. Zubaida's eyes filled with quiet tears. She hadn't heard her mother's name spoken with love in so long. He wants to take care of me, she said softly. He said he wants to make it right. Florence reached out and squeezed her hand. Then let him. Later that day, Chief Tund came home earlier than usual. He found Zubaida sitting by the garden. I want to show you something, he said. He took her to a room upstairs that had been locked before. He opened it gently, like it held something fragile. Inside, there were photos, drawings, clothes, and a diary. All of it belonged to her mother. This was Aminat's room, he said. Zubaida walked in slowly. Her fingers touched the bookshelf. A pink hair ribbon sat on the table. A drawing of a flower was pinned to the wall. I kept everything, he said. I thought, maybe she'd come back. Zubaida looked at him. She wanted to. But, she didn't know how. Chief Tund sat down. I didn't even get to bury her, he whispered. Zubaida sat beside him. She told me you were kind once. before things changed. He nodded. I was proud. Proud and foolish. I let my anger bury my love. She placed her hand gently on his. You have another chance now. That evening, they sat on the porch, watching the sky turn orange. He told her stories about Aminat as a child, how she used to dance in the rain and how she once climbed a mango tree and refused to come down until she got 3 mangoes. Zubaida laughed. She had never known these things. It felt like putting puzzle pieces together, pieces she didn't know were missing. The next day, Chief Tund called a doctor to check on her and the baby. They did scans and blood tests. You're healthy, the doctor said. But the baby will come soon. You need to rest. Zubaida was scared. She didn't say it, but her hands shook sometimes when she sat alone. Florence noticed and brought her warm pap and pepper soup. She rubbed her back at night and sang old Yoruba songs to help her sleep. Days passed. Then a week. Chief Tund bought baby clothes. He asked Zubaida what color she liked. Yellow, she said. Then yellow it is. He also set up a room for her, a nursery beside hers, with a cradle, toys, and soft blankets. One night, they were eating dinner when the doorbell rang. It was a police officer. His uniform was soaked with rain. He looked annoyed. Good evening, sir. Sorry to disturb. What is it? Chief asked. We received a call. Someone said there's a girl staying here who matches the description of a thief that's been hanging around Oak Market. Chief frowned. What girl? The officer looked behind him and pointed at Zubaida. That one. Zubaida froze. Chief stood up. She is my granddaughter. She matches the description, sir. We're just doing our job. Chief stepped forward, his voice strong and cold. She lives here now. If you try to touch her again, I will sue your department. The officer shifted nervously. Sorry, sir. We didn't know. You do now. The door shut. Zubaida's knees gave way, and she sat slowly on the chair. She couldn't believe it. Someone had stood up for her. Not just anyone. Family. Chief knelt beside her. You're safe. Nobody will ever take you again. Tears rolled down her cheeks. In that moment, she knew. She didn't just have a place to stay. She had someone to fight for her. Someone to call her own. The night was quiet. Even the wind outside seemed to respect the stillness inside the house. Zubaida lay on her bed, one hand resting gently on her belly. She couldn't sleep. Something felt different. The baby had been moving more all day, and now there was a heaviness in her waist and legs. She tried to shift her position, but a sudden pain gripped her side. It was sharp and quick, like someone tying a knot inside her stomach. She breathed through it. Maybe it was normal. Maybe the baby was just stretching. But then it happened again, stronger. She sat up and reached for the bell Auntie Florence had placed beside her. Within seconds, Florence rushed in, eyes wide. What is it? Zubaida was sweating. My waist, it's paining me. Florence placed a hand on her belly. You're due. Zubaida's heart started to race. Now? Florence nodded. I'll call Olga. Within minutes, Chief Tund came in, half-dressed, but alert. I'll take her myself, he said. Get the bag. The driver sped through the empty roads. The rain had started again, this time soft and steady. Zubaida sat in the back seat, holding Florence's hand tightly. Her breathing was short, her face tense. Chief kept glancing at her from the front seat. His fingers tapped against his knee. Just hold on, he kept saying. We're almost there. At the hospital, nurses rushed to take her in. They placed her on a bed, attached wires to her stomach, and checked her heartbeat. The doctor gave instructions, and Florence stayed by her side, wiping her forehead with a towel. Zubaida screamed once, loud and long. The pain felt like fire going through her bones. "You're strong," Florence whispered. "Your mother was strong too." After 2 long hours, the doctor smiled. "It's time." Zubaida pushed, and pushed again, until finally, there was a loud cry, a tiny, beautiful cry that filled the room like music. The nurse lifted the baby and smiled. "It's a girl." They wrapped the baby in a soft yellow blanket and placed her on Zubaida's chest. Zubaida stared at her. Small nose. Tiny fingers. Big eyes. "She looks like you," Florence whispered. Chief Tund entered the room slowly. He looked at the baby, then at Zubaida. His eyes filled again, but this time not with pain, with pride. "She is beautiful," he said. "What do you want to name her?" Zubaida looked down at the baby and whispered, "Aminat." Chief nodded. "Yes. Let her name carry the light her grandmother left behind." 2 days later, Zubaida was back home. Her room had been filled with flowers and soft lullaby music. The baby slept in a crib beside her, her small mouth sucking gently on her thumb. Chief had arranged for a nurse to help, but Zubaida insisted on learning everything. How to hold her. How to bathe her. How to feed her. One afternoon, Chief sat with Zubaida in the garden. The baby lay in a carrier between them, sleeping peacefully. "I want to go back to school," Zubaida said. Chief raised his eyebrows. "So soon?" "I don't want to sit and let life pass. I want to be more. For her." He smiled. "Then you will." The next week, he called a meeting. With lawyers, builders, and advisors. He wanted to open a center for young girls, especially those who had been rejected, abandoned, or abused. He said, "Zubaida's story is not just hers. It belongs to many. We must create a place where they can heal and rise." He named the center the Aminat Foundation. Zubaida was at the opening ceremony. She held her baby as she spoke to the crowd. "There was a time I thought my life was over. But I was wrong. Sometimes, one kind act can change a person's world. A plate of rice. A warm towel. A voice that says, 'You are safe.' That is enough to give someone hope again." The crowd clapped. Journalists asked for her picture. She just smiled and looked down at her baby. That evening, as she rocked Aminat to sleep, she whispered in her ear. "You will grow up strong. You will never stand in the rain alone. You will never beg for kindness." A year had passed. The sun rose over Abok with soft gold in the sky. Birds chirped as if they were singing to the world. In a quiet estate not far from the center of town, a woman stood on a balcony, gently bouncing a baby on her hip. That woman was Zubaida. And in her arms was little Aminat, now just past her first birthday. Zubaida looked different now. Not because of makeup or clothes. It was in her eyes. The fear that once lived there was gone. In its place was calm, like a woman who had finally found her feet and knew where she was going. She had finished her first year back in school. Every day, after morning feeds and study, she spent time at the Aminat Foundation, helping young girls who came through the gate with eyes full of fear, the same way she once did. Some were pregnant. Some had babies. Some had scars no one could see. She listened to them. Sat with them. Taught them how to make hair, sew clothes, and read their names in books. Chief Tund watched it all from a quiet corner of his heart. Every time Zubaida spoke, every time she taught, every time she wiped a child's tears, he saw a bit more of his daughter come alive again. One afternoon, a small event was held at the foundation. Girls were sharing their stories, stories of running away, of hunger, of strangers who helped, and those who didn't. When Zubaida stepped forward to speak, the hall grew quiet. She looked around, holding Aminat on her hip. Then she said, "I was once sitting in the rain. Wet, hungry, and alone. People passed me. Nobody saw me. Until one man stopped. He didn't know me. But he let me into his car, and then into his home, and then into his heart." She looked at Chief Tund sitting in the front row. "I didn't know he was my family. But kindness doesn't need blood. Kindness is enough." The girls clapped. Some wiped their eyes. Even the staff stood to applaud. After the event, one of the girls, no older than 15, came to her and whispered, "I thought my life was finished, but now, maybe it's just starting." Zubaida held her hand. "You are not broken. You are becoming." As the weeks went by, Zubaida started writing. She filled notebooks with her story, with lessons she wanted to pass down to her daughter. She wrote about courage. About shame. About hope. One of the staff at the foundation found her notebook and read it secretly. She told Chief Tund, who called a publisher. The book was printed with a simple title, "The Girl in the Rain." It sold out in the first week. Schools began inviting her to speak. Parents came with their daughters just to hear her story. One day, after a school talk, a man in worn slippers approached her with tears in his eyes. "My daughter left home last month. We haven't seen her. We blamed her. We didn't listen. But your story, it opened something in me." Zubaida held his hand. "Go and find her. Don't wait for rain to remind you of what matters." At home, Chief Tund sat in the living room watching Aminat play with blocks on the floor. He turned to Zubaida. "I sometimes wonder," he said, "what would have happened if I didn't stop the car that day." Zubaida smiled. "I don't." He raised his eyebrow. "Why not?" "Because you were always meant to. Even if you didn't know it yet." He nodded slowly. "Your mother would be proud of you." Zubaida looked at her daughter. "I hope she sees us." One night, long after everyone had gone to bed, Zubaida stood by the window. The rain had started again, soft and gentle. She didn't flinch this time. She whispered, "Thank you, rain." And just before walking away, she picked up her pen and wrote one last line in her notebook. "No girl should ever beg in the rain again." If you loved this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment below, would you have stopped for her? Let's talk about it.